Hi, I'm Rev Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. I'm going through the lessons this year, asking Jesus to clarify for me, and then writing what comes into my mind. And that's what I'm sharing with you today. So let's get started. Today, we're looking at lesson 74. There is no will but God's. Paragraph 1. The idea for today can be regarded as a central thought toward which all our exercises are directed. I'm going to read that again. The idea for today can be regarded as a central thought toward which all our exercises are directed. God's is the only will. When you have recognized this, you have recognized that your will is His. The belief that conflict is possible has gone. Peace has replaced the strange idea that you are torn by conflicting goals. As an expression of the will of God, you have no goal but His. Obviously, this is a very important lesson. Our problem is that we think we have a will that is different from God's will. This creates conflict in our mind. I used to avoid the idea of surrender. It felt like losing. I might not be doing a good job living my life, but at least I was my own person. Now, I love the idea of surrender. I know that I'm not surrendering to something else. In surrendering to the will of God, I'm simply turning away from the false will of the ego. I am surrendering to my true will. It also ends the idea of conflicting goals. God's will for me is happiness, and that is my goal as well. All other goals fall away because they are meaningless to me now. I used to have a weight goal, a financial goal, a relationship goal, and other goals, many of which conflicted with each other. All of that is gone or fading away in the brilliant light of the will I share with God. It seems absurd to me now that I ever thought I could have a will separate from God. More foolish was the belief that being in opposition to God could bring me happiness. Paragraph 2. There is great peace in today's idea, and the exercises for today are directed towards finding it. The idea itself is wholly true. Therefore, it cannot give rise to illusions. Without illusions, conflict is impossible. Let us try to recognize this today and experience of peace this recognition brings. My mind is not always in perfect peace, but it is in peace much of the time. I cannot imagine going back to the way things used to be. I can't imagine being in constant conflict to the way things are and with others. When a grievance enters my mind, I want very much to release it. I want to return to peace as quickly as I can. The more I choose peace, the easier it becomes to do so. All I have to do is ask myself if this idea is a reflection of God's will. If it's not, then it's not a reflection of my will. It can only be the idea of a separate ego will, and I'm not interested in that anymore. Paragraph 3. Begin the longer practice periods by repeating these thoughts several times slowly with firm determination to understand what they mean and to hold them in mind. There is no will but God's. I cannot be in conflict. Then spend several minutes in adding some related thoughts, such as, I am at peace. Nothing can disturb me. My will is God's. My will and God's are one. God wills peace for His Son. During this introductory phase, be sure to deal quickly with any conflict thoughts that cross your mind. Tell yourself immediately, there is no will but God's. These conflict thoughts are meaningless. Paragraph 4. If there is one conflict area that seems particularly difficult to resolve, single it out for special consideration. Think about it briefly, but very specifically. Identify the particular person or persons and the situation or situations involved, and tell yourself, there is no will but God's. I share it with him. My conflict about blank cannot be real. This form of the lesson was very helpful to me this morning. I woke up with my son on my mind. He is going through a difficult period in his life, and I felt concerned for him. When I thought about it, I was conflicted. He's my son, and so I want him to be happy, but I don't know what's best for him. I think back over my life, and I remember the most difficult periods of my life. Those were the very situations that brought me to God. But I didn't want to see my son suffer. You see the problem, right? My mind was conflicted. So I used this form of the lesson to release my conflict. There is no will but God's. I share it with him. This is a reminder of the truth and an instruction to my confused mind. It supersedes my past beliefs. Then I made it specific to this problem as I stated emphatically that my conflicts about my son cannot be real. How could they be real? It is God's will that my son is his son and deeply loved and cherished. This is my will as well. I trust my son to our Father. Paragraph 5. After you've cleared your mind in this way, close your eyes and try to experience a peace to which your reality entitles you. Sink into it and feel it closing around you. There may be some temptation to mistake these attempts for withdrawal, but the difference is easily detected. If you are succeeding, you will feel a deep sense of joy and an increased alertness rather than a feeling of drowsiness and enervation. Paragraph 6, joy characterizes peace. By this experience, will you recognize that you have reached it? If you feel yourself slipping off into withdrawal, quickly repeat the idea for today and try again. Do this as often as necessary. There is definite gain in refusing to allow retreat into withdrawal, even if you do not experience the peace you seek. In the shorter periods, which should be undertaken at regular predetermined intervals today, say to yourself, there is no will but God's. I seek his peace today. Then try to find what you are seeking. A minute or two every half an hour with eyes closed, if possible, would be well spent on this today. I do feel so much joy now for myself and for my son. Thank you for sharing this lesson with me. And if you've found it helpful, please like it. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with another lesson.